It isn't true that the universe speaks to us only when we're ready to understand it. Sometimes it sends signals that are clean, recorded by flawless instruments, and yet completely without explanation. That's the part that irritates us. Because our intuition says the opposite: if a measurement is solid, then sooner or later theory will catch up. It's a reasonable faith. We built physics that way, hammering the world into shape through repeatable experiments. But there's a detail that makes that faith unstable. Some phenomena refuse to repeat on demand. They happen, they stop, and all they leave behind are traces in the logs. And when those traces are clear enough to make it into a paper, the embarrassment becomes public. Imagine a radio telescope that never sleeps. It doesn't photograph stars. It doesn't collect colors. It listens. It captures the part of the universe we can't see with our eyes. Radio waves arriving from regions where matter is sparse, magnetic fields are immense, and visible light may be irrelevant. In Australia, there is a massive array, ASKAP, designed to map the radio sky with a speed and sensitivity that, until a few years ago, belonged to science fiction. In April 2019, in the direction of the galactic center, among known sources and cosmic noise, something appears that shouldn't be there. A radio point that turns on for weeks and then disappears. It doesn't fade. It doesn't evolve. It simply vanishes, as if someone flipped a switch. If it had been a variable star, an explosion, a binary system, we would have seen something in optical or infrared. If it had been a pulsar, we would have recognized the signature: rapid, regular pulses tied to the rotation of a neutron star. If it had been a magnetar, we might have expected violent behavior, but at least something classifiable. And yet, nothing. Optical telescopes pointed at those coordinates: nothing. X-rays: nothing. Infrared: nothing. Only radio. Like a deafening noise in a dark room where, when you turn on the light, no one is there. Then comes the part that turns the case into an obsession. That source doesn't appear just once. Between April 2019 and September 2020, it switches on and off 13 times. 13 reappearances, each separated by weeks of silence. And each time, the signal carries a feature that in nature is as rare as an unfakeable fingerprint: anomalous polarization. Most light, and most radio waves, vibrate in many directions. Polarization is the exception. It means the wave has internal order, as if it had been filtered by a magnetic environment or produced by a mechanism that leaves no room for chaos. There is an even more selective form, circular polarization, where the wave rotates as it travels, like a screw cutting through air. When you see it, you are usually looking at extreme magnetic fields, plasmas behaving nonlinearly, regions where matter is forced to obey invisible geometries. The team that isolates the source in the data, led by a young researcher, does what science does when it fears being fooled. It tries to rule everything out. Not with a sentence. With pages. Category by category. Known objects, known phenomena, known scenarios. One by one, crossed off. The work ends up in a serious journal and leaves a conclusion that is as simple as it is unbearable. We don't know what we're listening to. In the language of research, it's the height of honesty. In the mind of the listener, it's a void that demands to be filled. And yet the void doesn't stay alone. Because when an anomaly is unique, you can file it away like a nocturnal animal glimpsed in passing. When more of them appear, the forest changes. A year later, during a large radio mapping campaign, the same instrument picks up a different object. Far from the idea of an intermittent ghost. This time the signal doesn't hide. It beats. With the precision of a mechanism. One radio pulse every 35 minutes and 47 seconds. Not approximately. Not more or less. Exactly. For 8 consecutive days, 17 perfect beats. Then, suddenly, silence. And from that moment on, nothing. To understand how far outside the scale this is, you have to remember what pulsars do. Pulsars are cosmic lighthouses. Neutron stars that rotate and send out radio beams like blades. They can pulse hundreds of times per second, or once every few seconds. A heart that beats once every half hour is a paradox. It is still a beat, but no longer one that fits any class we know. And the strangeness deepens when you look at the purity of the signal. Total polarization, as if all the energy were ordered, disciplined, stripped of the disordered component that usually accompanies natural sources. It's the kind of cleanliness that makes you suspect either an extreme physical environment or a process that eliminates almost all noise. Here too, as in the first case, the eyes of the world see nothing. Optical archives, empty. Infrared, empty. X-rays, empty. The source is radio, and nothing else. And when researchers try to apply one of the few models that could, in theory, produce slow periodicity, such as certain compact binary systems whose orbits modulate emissions, the numbers don't add up. A binary system does not switch on for 8 days after years of silence and then vanish as if unplugged. Not like that. Not in that way. Not with that millimetric regularity. At this point, the question is no longer, what is it? The question becomes, how many times has this already passed in front of us without us having ears sharp enough to hear it? Because every technological leap in radio astronomy doesn't just add detail. It adds new species to the cosmic bestiary. It's like improving a microscope and discovering that water isn't one thing, but an entire world of living forms. If these signals are emerging now, it could mean they are rare. Or it could mean we've been blind. And if we've been blind, then the sky might be full of brief, intermittent events that happen and disappear before anyone points the right instrument in the right direction. Which makes another possibility unsettling. That reality may contain physical processes that exist only for a few days, or a few weeks, as if switched on and off by conditions we don't even know how to measure. And just when the mystery seems confined to deep space, the third case arrives. The most disturbing one. Because it doesn't involve something pulsing far away, behind dust and stars. It involves a signal that appears to come from beneath our feet. And to be real, it would have to pass through the Earth as if rock were transparent. This is where the story stops being just astronomy and becomes a problem for particle physics, for matter itself, for what we believe is possible at a fundamental level. In 2006, above Antarctica, a NASA stratospheric balloon carries an experiment called ANITA. At about 36 kilometers in altitude, ANITA doesn't look for images. It looks for extremely brief radio flashes. The idea is elegant. Ultra-high-energy neutrinos, almost ghost-like particles, can travel enormous distances without interacting, but when they rarely strike the ice, they produce a cascade of particles and a characteristic radio pulse. It's a hunt for tiny footprints left by something that passes through everything. In theory, the signal should arrive from above or near the horizon, where neutrinos enter the atmosphere or the ice along coherent paths. But in the data, events appear that come from below. From beneath the horizon. As if a beam of particles had risen from the Earth toward the sky and struck Antarctica from the wrong side. Why is that a problem? Because a neutrino at those energies, elusive as it is not invincible. If it crosses thousands of kilometers of rock, the probability of it being absorbed grows until it becomes overwhelming. At those energies, the Earth is not a window. It's a wall. It's like expecting a bullet to cross a continent of lead and come out the other side without losing anything. It shouldn't happen. And yet the signal is there. And not just once. Similar events appear in different flights. Each time, the collaboration is forced to ask the worst question. Are we seeing new physics, or are we being fooled by the environment, the instrument, the reconstruction? For years, the discussion revolves around this choice. They look for correlations with atmospheric phenomena, with anomalous reflections off the ice, with human interference, with statistical errors. They compare the data with other giant observatories, detectors buried in ice and arrays spread across distant continents. And the paradox remains. The checks do not yield a simple explanation. The twin signal that would have closed the case does not appear. Nor does the obvious error that would have destroyed it. When an anomaly survives long enough, the community does what it has always done at decisive moments. It builds a better instrument. That's how Pueo is born, designed as the successor to Anita, with greater sensitivity and architectures meant to distinguish real signals from geometric illusions. A new balloon. A new flight over Antarctica. A new collection of data. The goal is not to chase ghosts. It is to pin reality down with harder measurements. If the "from below" event was a mirage, a more precise apparatus should expose it. If instead it was the first hint of something real, then a more precise apparatus should make it clearer, more frequent, or at least better characterized. And this is where the three cases touch, even though they belong to different disciplines. Two radio signals from deep space, invisible across the rest of the spectrum. One intermittent, one regulated like a metronome. And a signal recorded above a continent of ice that seems to violate the opacity of the Earth. In each case, the data is not a whisper. It is clear enough to survive scrutiny, strange enough to resist the most comfortable models. The most interesting thing is not the list of extreme hypotheses that inevitably surface, from dark matter to exotic particles, from extra-dimensional geometries to new forms of interaction. The interesting thing is the attitude those data impose. A rare, almost counterintuitive attitude. Accepting not knowing, without turning that ignorance into a story. Because the point is not to choose a spectacular answer right away. The point is to understand what would make such answers necessary. Take the radio signals. Polarization that extreme is not decoration. It is a constraint. It means the emission site is dominated by structured magnetic fields, and that the wave is not scrambled along the way. It means the source could be small, compact, embedded in a plasma where the geometry of field lines determines which oscillations survive. But then comes the intermittency. An object that turns on for weeks and then disappears for weeks suggests a switching mechanism that does not resemble simple fuel depletion. It looks more like a threshold. As if, once a certain condition is crossed, emission begins, and below that condition, it dies. In the second signal, the threshold seems tied to an internal clock. Slow, perfect periodicity often points to orbital dynamics or precession. But here, the absence of a visible counterpart and the short duration of the episode create an uncomfortable combination. An orbit does not last 8 days. A rotation does not decide to exist for 17 pulses and then stop. Unless it is the medium that switches off, not the mechanism. Unless the emission depends on an environment that changes abruptly, like a particle wind that shuts down, a plasma that collapses, a magnetic field that reconfigures its topology and, in doing so, cuts the radio channel. But if that's the case, then we are dealing with transient phenomena that may be common and, precisely for that reason, almost invisible. Lights that turn on when no one is looking. And then there is Anita, placing an even deeper question on the table. Do we really know how thick the world is for the most energetic particles? In theory, yes. We have cross-sections, interaction models, and a long history of experiments. And yet nature has already shown a fondness for the edge cases. Every time a detector sees something at the margin, the temptation is to call it an error. But science doesn't grow by avoiding the margins. It grows by measuring them better. If Pueo, or future experiments, were to find similar signals and characterize them more precisely, the issue would become unavoidable. Either a piece is missing from our understanding of high-energy interactions, or there exists a propagation channel we have not anticipated. A channel that allows something to cross the Earth more easily than the laws we use today would permit. And so the opening sentence returns, with a sharper meaning. It isn't true that the universe speaks only when we are ready. Closer to the truth is the opposite. The universe is always speaking, and we understand in bursts, when our hearing sharpens. Modern radio telescopes are not just adding detail to the cosmic landscape. They are changing it. They are revealing that the sky may be full of objects that do not shine, do not heat, do not emit visible light, and yet transmit. And that some transmissions are not continuous, but episodic, like physical spasms of extreme systems. In this scenario, the absence of an explanation is not a failure. It is a snapshot of the moment when a discipline realizes there is a shadow behind it. Because if the models don't work, it does not automatically mean the models are wrong. It may mean we are applying them outside their domain, like using traffic rules to predict the behavior of a tornado. It may mean there are classes of objects not yet catalogued, or brief phases of objects we already know. A magnetar, for example, might have strange radio windows if its magnetosphere reconfigures. A neutron star with a companion might modulate emissions in ways not yet explored if the surrounding plasma changes discontinuously. A compact system might produce slow periodicity if there are global oscillation modes we haven't considered. None of these sentences is an answer. They are doors. And behind each door is an observational test waiting to be invented. The hypnotic part of this story is that the data does not ask for belief. It asks for better listening. It asks for continuous monitoring, open archives, networks of instruments that talk to each other in real time. It asks us to treat transients as a population, not as accidents. Because if the sky has sources that turn on and off, then statistics becomes a lens as powerful as a telescope. And if Antarctica has recorded pulses that seem to rise from below, then the solution may not be a bolder theory, but a larger dataset, one capable of separating the extremely rare from the falsely rare. And there is one final constraint, perhaps the most human of all. Every time science encounters an anomaly, it must balance between two opposite fears: the fear of being fooled by an error, and the fear of ignoring a real signal. In the first case, you waste years chasing a mirage. In the second, you miss the chance to see a new piece of reality. These three signals tell exactly that story of balance. They are solid enough to deserve attention, strange enough to resist easy explanations, rare enough to escape definitive capture. And perhaps the most honest conclusion is not that impossible answers exist. It is that there are questions that become visible only when technology illuminates them. A radio point that appears 13 times and then falls silent. A cosmic metronome that beats for 8 days and then disappears. A pulse from below that challenges the thickness of the Earth. 3 episodes that, taken alone, look like exceptions. Taken together, they look like a reminder. Our catalog of the universe is not a finished list. It is a draft. And every draft, when revised, reveals a sentence that wasn't there before. If you've made it this far, it means you value curiosity as much as we do. If you enjoyed this journey, leave a like, write a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to support what we do. Your presence truly makes a difference. Until the next exploration.